We all know the stereotype of the incel, the guy who wants to have sexual relationships with women but can't, and so the rejection causes him to grow in bitterness and misogyny towards women. But less discussed is the misogyny that can grow not from having too few sexual encounters with women, but too many. In this video, I'm going to explain how, as a man, if you sleep with lots of women, your opinion of them is likely to drop.
Would you ever judge a woman for how many men she slept with?
No.
Even if it was like 200 or 300?
I'd be like, no, actually I would. I'd be like, ugh, that's disgusting. That's because it's not because she's a girl. I said that about a guy as well.
You know that experience of somebody who works at a fast food restaurant and they see how all of the food is made and then suddenly they don't want to eat there anymore? Like, the more you're exposed to something, the less desirable it is. This is what happens to guys who sleep around a lot and have lots of encounters with women. As young teenagers, boys are full of hope and optimism and hormones. You know, they believe that women are these magical, unattainable, beautiful, pure creatures. But if you sleep with 100 women, that magic, that mystery is lost. The territory is now thoroughly explored and mapped out. That is the simplest explanation, but it goes a lot deeper as well. So back in the late 90s and the early 2000s, there was this budding culture of pickup artists. Guys who were initially hopeless with women, but they learned the right tips, the right emotional manipulation strategies, and they'd go out to clubs and bars and they would perform these scripts for women. They'd know exactly the right lines to say, when and where, to kind of act as psychological triggers, make the woman attracted to them, and then go home and sleep with them. To the surprise of nobody, after discovering this new superpower, they absolutely gorged themselves, like starving men at a buffet. They went out every single night, always with new women, honing their skills, honing their technique, and just racking up a massive amount of sexual experiences. This was their way of clearing their sexual debt. Sexual debt is a concept that I've already explored in another video. If you haven't seen that, I'll put a link down below. Now, you would think it makes sense that they were resentful of women back when they were alone and single, painfully so, because women weren't giving them any attention. Why would they get bitter and misogynistic now that they're finally having some success and that women are finally sleeping with them? It's because they're angry that the illusion was broken. They had this image that they wanted to retain of women as these high, beautiful, pure, angelic beings, but they couldn't maintain that illusion in the face of so much overwhelming evidence to the contrary. They saw the raw truth. They got their hands on some real personal evidence, and they could observe that women's attraction to men wasn't mysterious. It wasn't based on love or some soulmate connection. What they saw is that the routines and techniques that worked on one girl are likely to work on 95% of other girls. All you really had to do was plug in the right formula and you'd get the same result. Simply act in this manner, say these lines, and a woman will become attracted to you and she'll want to sleep with you. So while these techniques from the pickup artists unlocked this new level of sexual abundance, it had a downside, because how is a man meant to continue to respect women if they're so easily manipulated? The pickup artist is feeding her the exact same lines that he's already fed to 500 other girls, and she is responding exactly the way that he predicts her to respond. As he sees this working, he doesn't respect her. In fact, he grows in resentment, even as he's taking her home to sleep with her. In the back of his mind, he's thinking, I can't believe this worked. Literally, there is nothing special about me in your eyes. Any guy could have come along, acted the same way, said the same lines, and you'd probably sleep with him. Ironically, he actually would have respected her more had she rejected him and seen through his act. Occasionally that happened, but because his intention is to find a girl to sleep with, he just moves on, and there are enough women who respond the way that he needs her to respond in order for him to grow in success and grow in his newfound mindset about women. He becomes resentful of how easily women can be seduced, and in a very strange twist of logic, sleeping with them is actually how he begins to take his revenge. Almost like, I'm angry with you for being such a slut, and so to teach you a lesson, I'm gonna fuck you. It's not difficult to see how this just becomes a self-reinforcing cycle, and lots of guys get stuck in a loop where the more women that they sleep with, the more resentful and bitter they become towards women, and the more they want to take their revenge on them by sleeping with them. and it just spirals downward from there. You see this on a smaller scale with any guy who has low self-esteem. He's suspicious of a girl who wants to be with him because he's thinking, why do you like me? I don't even like myself. And he can't trust her love. His lack of self-esteem means that he is incapable of accepting any affection that she gives him. In his mind, he's thinking, I'm so awful, I'm so terrible. But what is wrong with you that you can't see how awful and terrible I am? How broken are you that you want to be with me? In all of my years, I have never seen what I would call a healthy relationship between two individuals who have low self-esteem. I actually believe that it's impossible. I believe that in order to have a relationship that is actually functional, both people need to have something of a positive relationship with themselves. Now, in case this seems inevitable, like resenting women is just a fait accompli, I'm going to explain to you where these men went wrong and how to behave so that you don't grow in bitterness and resentment towards women. But first, I want to tell you about my bonus adults-only 18+ content, the benefits of mutual masturbation. I talk about the benefits of masturbation, the origins of why a lot of men feel shame when it comes to masturbation. Talk about the psychological mechanisms where having a partner watch you masturbate can be really helpful for releasing some of that shame. I talk about the best techniques for mutual masturbation, as well as the benefits that can accrue to you by watching her touch herself. I love talking about sex, but this is the kind of topic, it has the kind of words that are guaranteed to get me demonetized on YouTube. So I just put all of my explicit stuff up on Patreon. It's just $5 a month to get access to everything. Great way to support the channel. Okay, back to men who sleep around a lot and where they've gone wrong. They have come to believe that all women are sluts, and they are constantly seeing evidence of that around them. The thing is that they are acting out a self-fulfilling prophecy. You see, if you spend all of your time trawling seedy nightclubs, looking for loose women drunk on alcohol who can be talked into going home with you to have a one-night stand, well, of course you're going to come to believe that all women are sluts because those are the only women that you're interacting with. Some people make the claim that every woman can be seduced in the right circumstances. All it takes is the right context, the right guy, and any woman is a slut. That is a ridiculous statement. There is no way that that could ever be verified. And again, it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy. Of course, there are women who exist who do the one-night stand thing and will go home with a guy who they just met an hour ago. Maybe it's even most women. I don't know the stats, but without a doubt, there are low-quality women out there, the kind of women who regularly have one-night stands. But you want to avoid these women. You don't want to have a relationship with a low-quality woman. But consider for a moment what happens if you live a life of constantly picking up girls. It's not that you're successful all the time. You're successful enough in order for you and your mind to justify continuing to do it. But the truth is, you're going to get rejected a huge amount of times. But if you do it enough, you eventually get numb to that rejection. Now, that's not an entirely bad thing. We could all stand to get a little bit more numb to rejection because we place too much importance on it. Women often reject you for silly, superficial reasons, and so you don't want your self-esteem as a man to be contingent on whether or not a woman rejects you or not. The problem is that if you become too numb to rejection, then eventually you stop thinking about all of the women who rejected you. A woman doesn't fall for your techniques, whatever, you just move on to the next one. And you really just focus on the women who you were successful with. The problem is that your worldview and your opinion of women then starts to get formed by only the women who fall for these kinds of techniques. When you think of what women are like, what female nature is, you're really only drawing from the kind of women who have one-night stands. Consider the spectrum of female quality. You've got, at the bottom, the low-quality women, the women who drink lots of alcohol, the women who go out to nightclubs, the women who will fall for your seduction techniques and go home and have a one-night stand with you. These are the women that you're suddenly paying attention to. But what about the high-quality women up here? The women who don't drink alcohol, who don't go to nightclubs, who wouldn't fall for your seduction techniques, who don't have one-night stands. These are the women that have sufficient intelligence and self-esteem to see through your bullshit. You know that quote that says, "I wouldn't want to be part of any club that would have me as a member"? Well, the equivalent here is, I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with any woman that would sleep with me too quickly. It is very, very important to be cautious of a self-fulfilling prophecy. What you pay attention to, you will get more of. If you choose to spend your time with low-quality women, women who will sleep with you the same night that you met them, then you're going to keep meeting these kinds of women. Your opinion of women will slide lower and lower and lower, and you'll grow in pessimism and bitterness, and you'll have difficulty believing that women are even capable of making a genuine connection with somebody. But if you spend your time with high quality women, women who have intelligence, self-esteem, good virtues, good values, femininity, then you can preserve your optimism about women. Again, do not misunderstand me and take what I'm saying simplistically, as though I'm saying there are equal numbers of low quality women and high quality women. There are not. The number of women out there who I would consider to be even capable of having a healthy, functional relationship is very, very small. High quality women are a rare commodity. But I promise you this, if you want to be one of those lucky guys who actually gets into a relationship with one of these high quality women, in order for you to do that, you absolutely have to maintain your optimism. If you keep the company of low quality women and don't believe that high quality women even exist, I guarantee you won't meet any, because how are you going to find something that you don't believe exists? Just like men, women exist on a spectrum. There are low quality women and there are high quality women. What's important is where you focus. What's important is who you choose to spend your time with. If you expend all of your energy and effort learning to seduce and use pickup techniques and exploit the very basest part of female nature in low quality women, I guarantee you're going to grow in bitterness and misogyny. That is a normal, natural consequence of your behavior and your choices on what you choose to focus on. Don't do it. I understand the temptation to try and clear your sexual debt, but it comes at a cost, because your opinion of women will suffer. If you allow your mindset to shift too deeply and you dismiss the possibility of a high quality woman even existing, then you have cut yourself off from an opportunity to actually make a real connection with a woman. And that is not worth the risk. Remember, if you want to hear more from me, check out my adults only bonus content, The Benefits of Mutual, available on Patreon.